Senator Mitch McConnell is canceling most of the August recess to help advance the president's priorities on Capitol Hill, while my next two guests are conducting a survey of Republican senators to help figure out the legislative priorities for the rest of the year. And joining us now is Senator Lamar Alexander and Senator Ted Cruz. Thank you both for arranging your schedule so that you could be here and to tell us about this. Senator Cruz, let me start with you. Why did you think that a survey or a poll like this was sort of necessary? Is there not some sort of consensus agreement amongst the party on what you want to do?
Well, I think in the last year and a half, we've accomplished a tremendous amount coming together both in Congress and the president. We've passed historic tax cuts that are benefiting jobs all over the country. We're seeing regulatory reform as job-killing regulations are reduced. We repealed the Obamacare individual mandate. We're confirming strong constitutionalist judges. But we need to keep moving forward. And so Lamar and I are working together to try to bring Republicans together, get 50 Republicans in the Senate on the same page to keep winning major legislative victories each and every day, the 7 months we've got remaining in 2018, so we can keep standing up for the men and women who elected us.
Senator Alexander, I understand that some of the items on the possible priority list are things like taking another stab at repealing and replacing Obamacare, a second round of tax cuts, or maybe perhaps making those tax cuts permanent, reining in the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is somewhat underway under Mick Mulvaney, defunding Planned Parenthood, that comes up over and over, work requirements for federal welfare programs, and expanding gun rights. Is that right, that that's pretty much the comprehensive list of what you think is on the minds of fellow senators?
There are a lot of other things there. And what we've said to senators is, if you don't like the list that Ted and I sent you, why send us your list. But Ted said it exactly right. We think we've done more working with President Trump in the last 17 months than any other conservative government in the last 30 years. But we don't have a majority like this, Republican Congress and Republican president, often. Since 1932, over 86 years, we've had it 8 years. So if there's one more thing that we can do with 50 votes, Ted and I want to make sure we know what it is and recommend it to our caucus.
Yesterday, Senator McConnell said everyone's going to stay in Washington, D.C. in August, and I've been there plenty of August, and obviously a lot of people would like to be other places because it is a hot, sticky mess. But there's a lot of work to be done. Senator Schumer basically taking it in stride and saying, okay, fine, we want to work too. This is what he says they want to push during that health care, during recess in August.
We Democrats want to use the additional weeks in August to reverse those policies that so hurt the middle class. Without action, this August, in the fall, middle-class families are going to have their pockets picked by insurance companies with the aid and help of our Republican friends in the Senate and the president.
Senator Alexander, I've been following this. At least if you look at Democrats across the country, they always seem to rank health care as their number one concern. And I wonder, because you're so intimately familiar in all the committee work that you do, is that a place where you think Republicans might be vulnerable going into the midterms?
I think if people know the facts, is where Democrats ought to be vulnerable. They passed Obamacare without a Republican vote. They refused to repeal it and replace it. And just a couple of months ago, President Trump, all of us on the Republican side had offered a bipartisan bill that would have lowered rates 40%. 40%. That's several $1,000s on your insurance rate, and the Democrats blocked it. So if they want to talk about health care, we can talk about that. But I think we want to talk about what Ted said, which is the best economy in 18 years, the biggest military growth in spending in 15 years. That's our agenda: taxes, judges, regulations.
I know that. Let me go to you, Senator Cruz, on this next one, because there was eye-popping numbers yesterday. We've all sort of known that with Social Security and Medicare, that these are not programs that are basically in good financial shape. Over 61 million people receive Social Security, retirement, or disability benefits. More than 58 million get Medicare. And yesterday, the government announced that for the first time since 1982, the Social Security system is going to exceed its income, and Medicare will be insolvent sooner than they thought, by 2026. Ben Shapiro, who is a conservative commentator, said this: our politicians won't do anything about it, however, because we don't have the guts to elect politicians who will tell us the truth about our benefits. And that means we'll kick the can down the road until there's no more road. Is it possible that entitlement reform would be put back on the list of priority items here?
Well, listen, I think Ben's exactly right, that there are too few politicians in Washington willing to take on entitlement reform. I think it's critical. 2/3 of our federal budget is the entitlement, it's interest on the debt. And I think we can and should come together, strengthen and reform Social Security and Medicare, protect those who are relying on the program now, and strengthen them to make sure they go forward in the future. But he's right. That right now the Democrats oppose doing anything to strengthen those programs, and there are not enough Republicans willing to do it. I will tell you what we can get Republican support for and what we can get done this year, which is focus on economic growth. If you want to address the strength of entitlements, the best thing you can do is get growth of the economy up from the Obama years, 1% and 2%, back to 3%, 4%, 5%. That's why tax cuts, lifting regulation, what Lamar and I are doing, delivering real results for job creators, makes a big difference in terms of people's lives, but also the revenue in order to preserve and strengthen Social Security and Medicare.